Welcome back to the podcast. And today we're going to talk about a concept that has really helped us argue less in the relationship and actually make our relationship last. And then all the clients we speak to, when they adopt this concept into their relationship, it makes it so much easier. And this really came up last night because we had a friend over for food and Mira and I were just openly talking about the common issues that show up in our relationship. And we just have so much awareness around it and understanding why they come up. So it just makes our relationship so much easier. So we're going to get into that. But just before that, we're going to have a little checkup on the week and how we've been going.
Yeah, I love
Mia
that.
Cherry's 31 weeks pregnant. How's that feeling?
Yeah, it feels great. I feel like I'm coming up to 21 or 31 weeks pregnant. I'm not exactly 31 weeks pregnant yet, but I was telling people that today at the market because sometimes I feel like my belly's really, I've been told that my belly is really big for how not far along I am. And so sometimes it makes me a little bit insecure. So I'm like, oh, I'm 31. A couple days ahead. And then the overall...
Yeah, because some people just say, ooh, big baby.
Yeah, like,
It's like,
I think...
imagine just walking up to a woman and commenting on her body,
Yeah.
but then she gets pregnant and then you can just say whatever you want to her.
Yeah,
It's wild.
it's something that I talk to Charlie about all the time. Like, imagine just going up to someone and be like, wow, you're fat. I'm like, excuse me? Not that they're saying that and they're just talking about the baby. Like, they're not talking about my
Nothing
body.
malicious,
They're talking about the baby. And
Because
yeah,
they see the baby as not you.
yeah, that's what I believe anyway.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't believe they mean it in any harm. I think it's just like small talk or common thing that people say.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, how am I feeling with the 31?
Yeah, I forgot what we were talking about. How are you
Yeah.
feeling?
I feel great. Like, I feel like my bump is becoming more of a bump and I'm becoming a lot more confident in it. Like Charlie has always said that you've liked how confident I am with being pregnant. However, I don't believe I've necessarily felt that confidence.
Okay.
Or you always say like how I was so proud of am so proud of my pregnant belly. I'm like, yeah, I guess I am, but I feel like now I feel very proud of it. Like I'm okay for everyone to see it, and like I'm starting to wear tighter clothes again, which is just like easier to one dress with a
Yeah.
bump because like the shape is so strange now. Or just like even walking around, like it's summer, getting to wear bikinis again and just like a shirt or like a button-up shirt over the top. And just like having a big pregnant belly, because I know that if someone else looks at me now, they can see that I'm pregnant.
Yeah,
so I
it's
feel
very
like
obvious.
that overall has given me a lot of confidence, clothing wise.
I'm
Because
not fat, I'm pregnant.
yeah, because I was like, I have 2 outfits that I just wear until like continuously until it gets
Yeah.
dirty enough. I'm like, okay, next outfit. Let's watch that one.
Let's do the other one now.
Yeah. So it's cool that I'm like, it's summer, the days are hotter, and I'm starting to wear just bikinis throughout the day now.
Yeah.
Started yesterday, but that's what I'll start wearing now.
It's
be
such a
so
weird
great.
thing, pregnancy, where you go along first trimester, no one can tell you're pregnant, but you kind of put a bit of puppy fat on. And then into second trimester, the belly starts growing a little bit more. Like some people that really know you can tell you're pregnant. And then as you keep going, just like more and more people that feel comfortable to ask if you're pregnant. But it's like, if you make the
Yeah.
wrong call and ask how far along are you and then someone's not pregnant, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, sometimes it's not worth the risk. Like I bumped into someone who I was 90% sure they were pregnant. And I was like, I better not ask in case they're not pregnant, but I'm 90% sure she is. And then later found out she wasn't pregnant. I was like, fuck, thank God about that.
Yeah. I think she was postpartum, wasn't she? She had the baby a couple weeks ago or something.
I wouldn't think she's pregnant if it was a couple of weeks ago. I don't think you know who I'm talking about.
Okay. That's fine.
Anyway,
I was like, oh. But yeah,
that'd be an
I always
awkward conversation. Imagine that. How far along are you? I am not. Ouch.
I'm 37 years old.
Yeah.
What about you? But yeah, talking about that, like I have had people like today at the markets, like asking how far along I am, and I like that's really nice. I feel like it's so obvious that I'm pregnant now that other people are coming up to me
Yeah.
and asking about
You got
the
told
baby.
you're a
and-
beautiful pregnant woman today, didn't you?
Yeah, that was very nice.
You had
of
someone
the
check
lady.
you out as well. Remember with the supermarket
Yeah.
last night?
Yeah.
And she was like, guess what? Someone was checking me out. I've still got it.
Still got it. And I think it's like, I believe everything happens for a reason. I'm like, I feel like the universe was just like reminding me everything's okay because of like, you know, you're still good. You're fine. Because I was went to a baby shower today. So I was getting a present for the baby shower. And then I went grocery shopping and I was just on my feet for over an hour. And I was just in so much pain. I felt like my body was breaking down. And I was just like walking the slowest probably I've ever walked because I was just
Waddling.
in so much pain. Not even waddling. I feel like I wasn't even moving fast enough for that. And then, yeah, it just made me boost of confidence, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Guys
It's
checking
fine.
you out.
It's just one
That's so
person.
sweet. Aw.
Yeah.
But that's still something.
Thank you.
That's
Anyway,
great.
that is my update. That's pregnancy. I feel like some days I have more moments and days I have more energy, and other moments I do not have energy. But Charlie's really helped a lot with that.
Yeah.
With like picking up things, or the moment I sit down and I ask you for something, you don't get annoyed, touch wood. But you're very like giving and loving towards that, which
Aw.
is really great.
You're so welcome. You're doing a lot. You're growing a baby.
Thank
so
you.
I'll hold my end of the bargain.
Yeah.
Such a yeah, it's mad pregnancy. It's like you put sperm inside the woman. 9 months later, you have a whole grown baby, like a human.
Charlie's like, it goes
such a
in
good-
one way, comes out the same way.
It's such a good ROI. It's like I just put this in and it comes back with this.
Yeah.
Best investment ever. I've been great. Really excited about a new business venture. It's a software to help coaches save time with their content. And the reason I'm so passionate about this is because I've been coaching and creating content the last 3 years. And it is such a pain point in the market for how long content takes for coaches. They can take 2-3 hours to create a piece of content and then it gets 200 views, which is like a flop. And they get annoyed about that and it's just not worth their time. And there's a lot of AI and software out there, but it's just so confusing and overwhelming and it's not exactly for coaches. So really excited about building that.
And for content, for like viral content.
Yeah,
And it
more
can be
so.
confusing if you don't program it right or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a guy in my network who's a super nerd with that stuff, which is awesome. I'm like the front end, excited, market research, ideation guy. And then he's way more back end, tech, websites, all that stuff. Like he's so patient and I will figure it out energy. And I am not I'm impatient with those small things. Like when I go up to something and I think it's going to be easy and then it turns out more difficult, I get so frustrated. I'm like, how the fuck is this difficult? Whereas he's so monotonous and he can do these things and be patient and be calm with it. So it's very yin and yang, which is very good.
Yeah. And that's what they say when you go into like a business partnership. It's like you both should have different strengths. So then together it's a great package. Because if you both have the same strength, then
One of you is irrelevant.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that feels really good. Like I'm still coaching around relationship stuff and I feel like I am moving more towards the marketing stuff and the software stuff. I feel like that is the long-term play and where I want to take things ultimately. And then again, building a big brand around relationships, it feels like I've been in this in-between phase of, oh God, what do I do? Do I start a new Instagram account? Do I keep going with the relationship stuff? Do I just thinking about all these things? Whereas like everyone evolves, everyone changes. As soon as you make a brand online, it can feel like a bit of a prison. So it feels nice that I've given myself that permission to actually start transitioning over to more content creation for coaches rather than being a coach. So,
And I think the thing is to recognize as well, it's like both of us have like the thing that we really connected on when we first met is our love for marketing.
yeah, we did, didn't we?
Yeah, like that was the big thing that we actually connected on. And so like throughout this whole time when your Instagram or all your content was around relationships, you were still constantly doing marketing and studying marketing. And then
that's been the through line. It's always been that.
and I still see it's like even you with this new project or business that you're starting or developing, it's like you're still doing so much relationship stuff. It's like
Yeah.
I'm still having relationship clients, coaching clients, and it's still within our framework. So you're still pushing, like you're still evolving on both of them.
Yeah.
It's just whatever you're pushing out there.
I remember on our first date, Mia worked for a marketing agency and she was in like the Facebook ads and Google ads and all that stuff. And then I was pretty clued on with that stuff as well, but she didn't know at the time. So when we met up on our date, I knew all the jargon about the campaign, ad sets, ads, the creatives, the copy, targeting, all that stuff. Like I knew all the jargon. So I was just like asking her questions. And in my head, I was like, oh yeah, I look impressive now because I know the jargon. Like she will enjoy this. I was like, oh, how tidy is your ad account? How organized is it? What's your naming convention? Like all this shit.
Yeah.
I remember, I remember the first
I
date.
remember that now, yeah.
Yeah. Did that win you over?
No,
No?
that wasn't what won me over.
Just because
However,
everyone around you talks
Yeah.
like that. So maybe it wasn't a good thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was something that I was thinking about. It's like if that's a language I would use every day. So
You put me into work mode here.
yeah, but it was really great to like connect with that, and I love that my specialty was paid advertisement and yours was like free.
Organic.
Yeah, organic. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And so like like we said, like partnerships work so well when both of your strengths are the opposite strengths.
That's so true.
And so I feel like that was a really great.
We
strength.
got it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We make a great pair that way.
Make a good pear. Make a good apple that way. Amazing. The dad jokes have started already. Amazing. So today's episode's all around this one concept that has really helped us. And like I said earlier, when our friend came over last night and we were just talking about the issues that come up in our relationship, and we're so aware of it, we can laugh about it, we can joke about it, and we can have tolerance and patience around it while we are learning to get better at things. And I feel like when couples understand each other, it's way harder to hate the other person. The reason you might hate someone or hate your partner in certain moments is because you don't understand why they're doing certain actions. And it's like everyone's doing the best they can with the resources they had. It's like your partner is acting a certain way for a reason. He's acting out of the best intention possible for him. And you just have to understand, why is he acting like that? Or why is she acting like that? So it's like self-awareness in a relationship is so important, right?
100%.
Yeah. So the whole concept is, can you understand your partner rather than hating them? And for Mia and I, we were really talking into the core issue coming up in our relationship, which was when Mia grew up, and we'll go more into this, she was very much grew up with a self-soothing and no one else, like when she felt emotion.
Parental.
What's it called?
It's like I had the word and then as soon as I spoke it out loud, it disappeared. But like the parental technique of like the parenting technique of teaching your baby to self-soothe, and by doing that, you let your baby just cry it out.
Yeah. Which creates adults with abandonment issues and not knowing how to be emotionally held, or doesn't feel safe feeling emotion in front of other people. So that was Mia's like core thing. And then my core thing was, from that, I grew up in a very stable, very secure household. There wasn't any emotional depth, so we didn't talk about that stuff. I never learned how to emotionally hold someone. So we had those two conflicting things playing out, where Mia didn't feel safe being emotionally held, and I didn't know how to emotionally hold.
Yeah.
So it's like,
is it because like you didn't grow up in a household that showed emotion? Do you reckon that's what it was? Because like your family's just like great, like
we showed
on the outside, it's just like good.
Yeah, we were just like, good,
Yeah,
great.
secure.
Yeah,
Good.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like,
Yeah.
we didn't really talk about talk about anything that deep, that personal. Everything was pretty surface level. We really got along. Everyone was happy, like that sort of household.
Yeah.
So it was very different to how like our two worlds coming together. And I thought my childhood was so normal, and then obviously you thought your childhood was so normal.
No,
Everyone does.
I think I didn't believe my childhood was normal. I grew up and then found out how common my type of household
It's
was,
the opposite.
and then it was normal, because it's like, again, I was comparing it to the American Hollywood dream, like of the family.
Yeah.
The picket white fence,
The nuclear household.
the parents that are very attentive and home, like mum, dad.
Secure.
Yeah. It's like the only issues they had in the movies was like fighting with their siblings.
Yeah.
So I was comparing my childhood to what I was seeing in cartoons or movies like that. And like my childhood was so different to that. So I was like, oh, no one gets it. It was like, life is so hard. And then I grew up and was like, oh, well, lots of people unfortunately had very similar.
Yeah, I was so unaware of this. I just thought everyone had the same growing up. And then meeting Mia and hearing about how she grew up, and then a lot of people around me, and coaching so many clients and hearing their past, it's like, wow, I'm the anomaly. I'm the odd one out that grew up in a secure household.
Yeah, which is amazing. And I love that so much, because Charlie has so much belief and security in our future together that it helps. Like, I borrow his certainty with that, like something that we do a lot, which I love, just within our friend group and within coaching as well. It's like sometimes if you don't believe in yourself, or if someone doesn't believe in them, you say like, well, great, I believe in you. You can borrow my belief that you're going to make it. And so that's what I think I've really done within our relationship. If you have so much belief that we're going to be together for such a long time and have such a secure relationship for such a long time, that at the beginning, since that was so out of reach for my mind to even fathom that that's even a possibility, I just bought into your belief. And then now over time, you've just shown me that it's possible.
What I saw growing up was marriages last. Like my mum and dad been married, I don't even know, like 38 years or something like that. And my uncles and my aunties and the people around me were all married for a long period of time. I didn't really see any divorce, like hear those stories growing up. So it's just a not issue in my head of just like, obviously we're going to last. Obviously marriages are great. And then Mia grew up like seeing her family and seeing TV shows. Like you grew up watching American TV shows where love's portrayed as like the guy's a piece of shit and the girl can't trust him and they're going to break up.
Yeah. And the more I reflect on that, I think it's like that's just what my reality was. So then when I saw it in movies, it just reaffirmed that belief.
Yeah, okay.
Because I think for sure there's moments where I've seen happy households, but when I got older, meaning like I was from 7 older than that, I was like, okay, well, that's not real life. That's just pretend. People don't actually have loving households like that.
Everyone's pretending.
Yeah. Which is sad.
Yeah.
But like just knowing that parenting skills back then were so new that it hadn't been, I feel like we were the generation where that was tested and then the results came back in and they weren't good.
Created a generation of abandonment wounds.
Yeah,
but
literally.
Yeah, that was the thing back then, wasn't it? It's like self-soothing was the hype.
Yeah, it's like our parents generally believed that they were doing the best thing for us, like trying to be the best parents. And
yeah, like we're saying, everyone's doing the best they can with the resources they had.
Yeah.
Like people think self-soothing is the best, so we'll do that because I love my child.
Yeah, and I want what's best for them, and I'm being told that this is what's best for them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, how did that show up in the relationship? Like from your childhood, how did that play out in the relationship?
Well, I think that the really big thing from that is like the lessons that and the beliefs that I formed from that were that my emotions didn't matter, or like no one gave a shit if I was happy, sad, or any emotion, as long as it didn't affect them. It was fine. So no one cared about my emotions. So I would just suppress them myself, that I wouldn't care about my own emotions. So I was like very in touch with my emotions for a very long time. And then even in our relationship, just like learning to uncover what emotions feel like and differentiating them from each other was a really big one. And then to be vulnerable with that when unhappy emotions or things are coming up, and processing, being able to be vulnerable and it not just be rejected or that you're going to abandon me because I have made it inconvenient.
I've showed you a weakness. Now you're going to leave me. Yeah,
it was like then an abandonment wound of
don't show weakness. Don't rely on a man.
Yeah.
Never feel safe fully relying.
I think like in other relationships, I just thought if I was so perfect, they would not have a reason to leave, because like if I wasn't upset and I was always attentive to them, they wouldn't abandon me and not give a shit about me and walk out. And so I feel like that definitely would have played out in the beginning of our relationship. And I just had to constantly remind myself that it's okay. Like I can just be myself and the right person will like me for who I am. But that in itself felt so uncomfortable. And even having that mentality, the whole me not being in touch with my emotions wasn't even registered at that point. Does that make sense? Like I wasn't even aware that I wasn't opening up about my emotions. I just thought I wasn't an emotional person because of the way I grew up. Now looking back, it was because of the belief that I created growing up. Yeah,
it's like every single person is a product of their upbringing, of their environment. So it's like us learning this stuff and me fully understanding where Mia came from and what her experiences are up to this point, I can make sense of why she acts the way she does. So I can hold her in love. I can understand her rather than holding like frustration and anger and being triggered by her all the time. I'm like, I see you fully. I see you for all you are, and I can love you through that. So that's been the journey, right?
Yeah, and like something to even answer your question better before of like how did that show up in our relationship now? Looking back, even that I had the mentality of, oh, I just want to be this perfect person so they don't leave me back in the beginning. It's like I also believe that there was another paradox playing out, that if Charlie went internal, or like you just had a day or you're just doing something that I didn't feel close or connected to you in that moment, I felt like my abandonment would spike, or like there was a slight trigger. It wasn't a drastic like, oh my God, I feel so abandoned. It was just like there was a part of me that didn't feel connected to him. And if I'd asked or tried to do a little bit, and that could have just been like touching your arm or like doing something for you, which wasn't clear communication of, oh, I feel disconnected, can we connect? Which is what we would do now. It would be, I would do something like a little bid for connection that wasn't clear, and then if you didn't bid back on my bid, then I would have created an argument to get that connection. Like this is something that I see play out with my clients now, because it's such a past projection of mine.
Chaos creates connection.
Yeah, like if I don't feel, or if you don't feel connected with your partner, that you can easily then create an argument, because then at least that argument you're feeling connected to them.
Yeah, at least there's something.
Yeah.
Like I would rather argue with you than not speak to you.
Because when you're arguing with me, it's showing that you're fighting for me and for this, rather than just being not communicating, because you're probably just wanting time to yourself.
So when we feel disconnected, or you feel like I'm going internal, what comes up for you? Like what do you make that mean about our connection, or what triggers in you through that time?
Like you're meaning in the past?
Yeah, in the past. I know now we feel secure with it, but going through our relationship and times where I did feel like I pulled away a little bit, like what came up for you?
Yeah, just like what I was saying of if you were pulling away, but it wasn't even pulling away. It was just like you just containing your own energy and holding yourself.
Yeah.
But I wasn't a part of that. I would just feel like, oh, he's not happy. He wants to leave. Like it's all those beliefs that I created when I was young, that like this means this. If you're not looking at me or wanting to spend time with me right now in this exact instant, or you're not head over heels telling me how in love you are with me in this exact moment that I feel like I need it, that you're not happy and you want to leave, and
you make
going
it
to
mean a lot.
Yeah. And that was all because of like the preconditioned notions that I created for myself of having that initial belief when I was younger, that then created several other beliefs of like all men cheat. No men want, like men don't want monogamy. That all men cheat. All men, all these things that you hear like online in certain sections online that genuinely just aren't true. But I had bought into that belief so much.
And your brain looks for evidence to confirm those insecurities too.
Yeah, exactly.
So it just builds up more and more and more.
Yeah.
Whereas like, can you become aware of what you're looking for and actually change that to looking for evidence to confirm the relationship you want? So that was a journey, like Mia learning to trust and let go of control and show vulnerability.
Yeah, it was more so learning to trust myself. Like a really big thing was like, it wasn't for me to trust, it was a thing for me to trust you more, and like looking for evidence that I can actually trust men, and that men can be trusted, and that there's some men out there that do cheat and do who want open relationships and do look elsewhere, and there are other men that are genuinely just wanting one person for the rest of their life in a committed relationship, that genuinely just love you and only want to be with you. And so it's like creating evidence to see that that's actually true, but then it's also realizing, why do I feel this way, and questioning my own thoughts and my own beliefs. Like, how did I come to that conclusion of like Charlie sitting on the couch, maybe on his phone for like a minute, not even that. Why did I suddenly go, our relationship's over? Like, you're wanting to break up with me now.
And
Like,
your
and then-
brain plays this massive story
Yeah,
out.
and then really just questioning myself of like, what was a train of thought? How did I even get here? Then breaking it down so little by little of like, he went on his phone and I made that mean this, but why? And then just questioning yourself, why? And then asking myself, does that actually serve me?
Is this true? What's the reality here?
Yeah.
Your brain can play this massive story out of all these bad things. So true, hey. And yeah, because you would be like, I don't feel safe to express my emotions in front of men, or like nobody cares about my emotions. And then I grew up in a household where I never had to really hold emotions. So Mia would come to me with her emotions and she'd try and open up, and then I wouldn't know how to hold her. So it would just confirm her belief even more that it's not safe for someone else to hold my emotions. So it's like that was the back and forth for a while.
I feel like that's the thing that feels the most prominent. So yeah, the whole section that we just spoke about of my abandonment wound and that being triggered, I feel like that's so far in the past that I just don't even connect with that now. Like, that's so not my reality. Like, it's just to even think that was
The same person.
my triggers. It's just like, that's just not at all how I would show up now in the relationship. And not to say that was big or dramatic, it was just minor. It was very, very small, like, bickerments.
Yeah.
And to realize it was a small bickerment externally, but there was a whole story that was happening inside my mind, to know that that's not even happening now. But then to go back to the emotion side of things, of like learning that other people care about me or my emotions, like, that's something that I'm still learning and finding evidence for. And it's like, even through pregnancy, like, my body, like, there's some days that I just genuinely feel so exhausted and so tired, but I don't communicate that with you, because and then I get annoyed of if you ask me if I want to go for a walk, and then all I'm thinking is like, my body's in so much pain, like, how could he ask? Like, I feel so exhausted, like, he thinks I'm lazy, blah blah blah. But then I think from your point of view, it's like, some days I have energy and want to go for a walk, and then other days, like today, I could look at the exact same physically on the outside, but I haven't communicated with you. It's like, oh, my body feels really sore today. So
yeah, one day you'll be annoyed I asked, and then next day you'll be offended I didn't.
yeah.
So it's like trying to call
I said I
that.
want to go for more walks with you. So
And it's just having tolerance with that stuff. Like, you're going to get shit wrong in a relationship. I get shit wrong, Mia gets shit wrong. But it's just like, you figure it out. You have tolerance, and it's not making it mean all these things. Like Mia's old experience of this massive story plays out that I don't love her, and I'm going to cheat, and all men leave, and I'm going to be alone forever. Like, that sort of vibe.
I don't even think, I don't know, it's just so hard for me to think, like,
It's so
have
far
that
away
have
from
that
that now,
belief
yeah.
towards you. It's like, I definitely had it in past relationships 100%. It was like, I think if I had it with you, I just was so close to the beginning.
Yeah. That was so funny, hey? It's such different times back then.
How is that, like, with everything that we spoke about from my perspective, how has it been from your perspective back then, right at the beginning, even now, my emotions?
Like, I struggle to remember the start.
Yeah, that's
Of,
why
like,
it kind of
what we
felt
were like.
uncomfortable to, like, talk about, because, like, I feel like it's not even
talk-
my
it
reality
feels like you're talking about
anymore.
someone else.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. I feel like, yeah, that journey of, it's just so normal for me, like, being there, being present in a relationship, just, yeah, I'm in this relationship. And Mia's, like, having all these insecurities and worries. Like, there's this massive film playing out in her head. And I'm just there, like, I still love you. I still love you. I still love you. Every day, like, I'm here. I'm here. Just that consistency is the biggest thing.
And that's the thing that's been the most reassuring for me. It's like, it's not your job to do that. However, as a person, it's not your job to make someone else feel secure within themselves. However, being in the relationship to create such a healthy, loving relationship, and the whole topic of this podcast today is like, what is your partner's biggest core wound, and how can you love them for that?
Yeah.
And that's that's the exact example of how you've shown up every day, of like giving me that reassurance and that belief that you are so in this and there for me. And yeah, like even last night we were having a conversation and there were some things that makes me feel scared of, like I can see us being together for such a long time and there's just like a part of me that I'm like, I just can't, I'm such a visual person.
That part of the picture is not there yet.
It's like such a visual person. I can see our whole future together and getting older together ish. But then when we get to older ages, I'm like, I just can't picture us there, because it's just so, no one in my family has been with someone that long that I've seen as I've been alive. Yeah. So it's like just buying more into your belief. I'm like, I only want that, but I can only logically make sense of it. I just can't fully picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the picture's becoming clearer now.
It's getting there.
Yeah. And like all of that has been from help from you, of loving me through those deepest core wounds. And it's not, oh, these are my core wounds, make me feel better about it. It's, I'm aware of them and I'm learning to heal them moment by moment. And you're just helping love me and reassure me through that, because it's not your responsibility, but you're helping me through it.
Yeah, exactly. On the responsibility part, it's like it's not your responsibility to fix the other person or heal the other person, but you can play a massive part in helping them. You can create the environment for that. It's like
the safety of that as well.
Yeah, you can create the safety of it to help them heal. It's like when they have these beliefs and like all men cheat, all men are this, all men are that, and you're doing shitty behavior that just confirms that belief, then of course you're going to just trigger the fuck out of them. But if you can hold a safe space and just reassure them, and when they do need reassurance or they can get critical or questioning and they act from these places, can you not get defensive? Can you just be patient? Can you love them through it? Can you do the reassuring to help them feel more secure in that? So it's like, it's not your responsibility to make them feel more secure, but like, I highly recommend helping them if you want the relationship to last.
Yeah, and it's supporting them through it, I would say, is the best language. Is you support me through that because you love me and you want to.
Yeah, it's in my best interest for you to feel more secure in this relationship.
Yeah.
If I just made you feel more anxious, that just creates a stressful relationship, you know?
Exactly.
I'm just making more stress for myself. Because I'm like, overall, cool. Who do I want, like, how do I want the version of Mia to show up in the future? Like, secure, loving. Like, that's going to make it so much easier for me. Mia's going to be happier. She's not going to be worrying as much. Cool. How can I create that version of Mia?
Yeah, it's loving your partner for who they are right now and who they can become as well.
Yeah, it's like facilitating them in their growth as well. So it's like, what's the goal here? It's like, you love them in the moment, and where do you want this relationship to last? Do you always want it to be a place of triggers and trust issues and jealousy? Or do you want to move it towards somewhere where it is secure? Cool, what's the journey? What's the path? What's the day-by-day actions? What do I need to start doing? What do I need to stop doing to actually start walking that path?
Yeah, I feel like we spoke a lot about my core wound and didn't dive much into yours. However, so it's like there is like both partners have, like, that's what makes life.
It's the imperfections that make life.
Yeah, that creates polarity within your relationship, as well as what makes life so interesting and feel that growth throughout your journey as well. So if for the listeners that are tuning in, what would your advice be to help uncover what their core wound is and having that conversation and moving forward? Like, what would the steps be?
It's seeing it for yourself. It's not like if your partner's never talked like this, you know, it's like you're learning this stuff, but maybe your partner isn't yet. It's not going up to them like, oh, I can see how your core wound is abandonment, or you don't feel good enough.
Yeah, never.
You don't think you're smart enough.
Yeah, I believe never go up and what is it like?
Just coach them.
Symptomize someone else of like. Yeah. Because all I think is like, if anyone says something so out of the box to me, whether a friend or someone else, or like even if you say something out of the box to me, I'm like, would you go up to a stranger and say that? It's like, you wouldn't go up to a stranger and be like, I can see how you have an attachment wound. Like, that's not a nice thing of like, that's so not your place to say that. And so I think in a relationship as well, with intimacy and like that's just even not a okay thing to symptomize someone else.
Yeah, is symptomize a word?
It makes
It
sense
sounds
to me.
like a word.
Yeah,
It's like-
I don't believe it is a word, but I believe that everyone knows exactly what I mean. I have
That's so funny.
confidence that everyone makes sense of what I mean,
I
but
trust
I don't
that.
believe
Everyone
that it's a
listening to
word.
this, you know what symptomize means. That's right. It's being aware of it yourself. It's like sitting there. It's like, what is the repetitive cycles that play out in my relationship? It's cool. I get critical. He gets defensive. And then I feel like the bad person. So I'm trying to make it up for that. Where it's like, cool. What is it in him that he feels under attack from? Cool, maybe he wants to feel capable in the relationship, and when I use a certain tone, it makes him feel like he's doing something wrong. Maybe I'll be more aware of my critical tone. And where does my critical tone come from? Oh, I always felt like I needed to speak up and defend myself as a child.
Like my voice had been taken away from me.
Yeah, like I didn't have a voice, so now I overcompensate and I really need to speak up. But that just triggers my partner and he gets defensive. Cool, I'm way more aware of this cycle that's playing out now. Cool, how can I be more patient in that? How can I start to introduce this conversation to him? It's like, hey babe, like I know I can be critical and that's not fair, and I can see how that starts so many arguments. I really feel like it comes from me like as a child and wanting to do this. So you start talking about your own realization, your own
And
self-awareness.
you being so vulnerable and you initiating that conversation and that vulnerability of showing your partner that you feel safe enough to even have this conversation with them. That you trust your partner enough that you can express and be so vulnerable, and that your partner can hold you in that.
Someone
Like,
has to go
that-
first.
Yeah, that creates so much depth and trust and such a bond within the relationship simply by just being honest about that.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this podcast and you're learning this stuff, chances are you're the one that's more self-aware and you're more into this work than your partner. So it's like you being first and opening the door to vulnerability and realizing, oh, like I can be critical. I'm sorry. I can be judgmental. I can be this questioning tone. I can see how that can come across, and I'm sorry about that, and I can fully see where it's coming from. It's coming from me not having a voice when I was younger, and I'll be way more aware of that. I'll talk to you like this instead. Would that help? Yeah, it would actually. Amazing. And then it just plants a seed. It's like,
Yeah.
I wonder where my defensiveness comes from. And then it just starts, and you start deepening the relationship, but someone has to go first to actually be vulnerable.
Yeah. And the more that you start having those conversations, it's like you'll start to realize that then they don't always end up having to be these really big, deep conversations that last an hour and a half. Sometimes you can just have a deep conversation that's 2 sentences. Like when you start becoming and feeling comfortable enough sharing those thoughts and feelings with your partner, knowing that your partner can hold you in it. It's just like you can just connect on a deeper level so much faster, which is excellent.
And you're just building on what you've already built, established already.
Yeah.
Like when we're just piecing parts of the puzzle together. Like there's things happening in our relationship that we are not aware of currently. But it's like as we become aware of it, we start to piece it together. Oh, that's why this happens. Oh, I can see how that plays into this. Oh, that's connected to this. And that's why I act like that. That's why I react like that. That's why I shut down like that. That's where I get critical. So it's like we're just building on what we've already established.
Exactly. And it's like your unconscious mind will show you the patterns that are playing out when you're ready to uncover them and heal them and learn a different way of doing it. It's like there's some things that have come up in our relationship 2.5 years in, and we're like, oh, it's funny
How have we never realized that?
How have we never realized that this was playing out? And it was just because it's like clearly we were just ready to see that for what it was, and then be like, oh, okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so great.
Yeah, so the whole concept of this podcast was, can you be aware of why your partner or why you act the way you do in a relationship? Everyone has the best intention. Everyone's doing the best they can with the resources they had. People act a certain way based on what's happened to them previously, their environment, what their household was like, what their beliefs were like, their past experiences. It's like people act the way they do for a reason. They're not just choosing to be a bad person in certain moments.
Yeah, and recognizing that, it's like when you recognize your own core wound for yourself, recognize how much that served you throughout your life and the things that you've benefited from it. to acknowledge that like it has served you for a reason, for a purpose up until this point. But now that you're aware of it, realize that how is this not serving me? What am I actually losing from choosing this behavior and choosing this belief? And how can I reprogram myself to actually choose differently?
That's so good. Amazing. So self-awareness is the main thing.
Yeah.
We always talk about that. Hey, like in the conflict codes, the whole first phase is all around self-awareness.
Yeah, it's like any personal development, whether it's like business development, self-development, relationship development, spiritual development, everything initially starts with self. Like you have to create a relationship with yourself before you love someone else, before you grow bigger in business or become a leader in your job role.
It'll uncover more of you.
Yeah.
There's no self-development without self-awareness, because you can't really work on something if you're not aware of it.
And that's something
you only
that
get
not
better
many
with
people
intention, right?
talk about enough, I think.
Yeah. Like you don't get better by accident. You get better with intention. You get better by seeing what's been playing out, putting your ego to the side and actually facing it and working through it.
Yeah. Because it's like, while we're talking about this, something that just came up is like, I feel like both of us have done so much like business development along the time. Like I know I've gone to a lot of business events and they're always like, what are your skills and what skills do you lack? But even that I used to find myself really hard to fill out, and people around me would find it so hard. Like what are my skills? What am I really great at?
Yeah.
Because it's like, what it is because we have a lack of self-awareness around ourselves. We don't have a relationship with ourselves because it's been almost shamed upon to do that within the society that we grew up in.
Or just focusing on everything we haven't got and all our bad traits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that can be all another episode.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. We release a new episode every single Monday. And yeah, send this video to your partner if you want them to have more self-awareness and maybe start deepening into this work. So thank you so much for listening. We will see you next Monday.
Thank you so much, guys.